I'm pushing the button and we'll see what breaks.
Okay.
I don't think anything broke. Allegedly. I
Good to
guess
me.
you know what? I guess that message was knocked because Bone Shatter's all caps and then the Quinn emote. It's the only thing I could think of that
Oh.
says it's for caps warning.
Yeah, that's a
It
strict
just it
moderator.
just shot it down. That's great. Well, hi people. We're 15 minutes early, just hanging out. We'll start to really talk about stuff in 15 minutes, but I guess this is a good time. Anyone who's in stream right now, let us know if the audio is balanced to a degree.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Welcome.
There's Blaze. He's here. I'm here. Just blazing up. Content channel.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the bot worked. The link was not correct. That so we just have this set up for the bot in our the Dark West Discord, and it was to try to output the stream to that channel, but it looks like it. Oh, do you know why it added an exclamation point after "Play the Dark West" and that automatically? Because it's really excited, I guess. It's like play the Dark West. That's funny. Very good memes. You look freshly showered, Blaze. You were just trimmed and prepped.
I haven't showered in a couple weeks, and I figured today would be the perfect day for it. Actually,
True.
I've been saving it for the stream.
Knock off the crust and the dust. Yeah,
exactly.
Life's hard
Hello,
in
Brandon.
the dark West. It's I don't think they were showering too often back then.
No, dude, I feel like most people just bathed. I feel like showering back then was for the extremely wealthy.
I'm not
You
sure if
probably
showers
just
existed, to be honest.
yeah. There's just a bit. I just imagine a huge wooden
Tub.
tub, and that was it. That's all you got.
I'm trying to think in the show. Did you ever watch Deadwood on HBO? They had a.
No, I've heard of it though.
It was one of the earlier HBO shows. It was very, very good. It kind of was like the order of large HBO shows was like Oz, then it was like Sopranos, then it was like Deadwood and Rome. Those are like the two big ones kind of afterwards. But the Deadwood was straight Western basically. But it was incredibly vulgar and violent, which at the time no one else was doing but HBO. But I remember there was a character. There was a few times I remember people bathing, and it was either like you're describing, just some basically a barrel. They were inside of a barrel, and that was the extent of that. Or
yeah,
it was like a brass tub, which would have probably just been super heavy, and they just hauled that around.
Yeah, speaking of HBO, I just started rewatching Band of Brothers for the fourth time.
Oh,
I always just default to that show every single time I need another
yep.
show to watch.
It's class. Did you watch Did you watch the Pacific also?
I did.
Yeah.
I didn't love it as much as the OG Band of Brothers.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was also Generation Kill was another one in that same kind of era of military shows.
Yeah, and I think they did one that was called Masters of the Air or something like that too.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched that one yet, but yeah, I'm a sucker for military, history movies and all that kind of stuff. It's good stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh hey, Secretary.
Oh,
what's up, man? Hello, Gog. Also, welcome all the C people. I'm not sure what C calls his community. Everyone has a different name. I feel like sea people sounds good. Sea monkeys, maybe? Is
that sea people. That one's good.
I remember when I was a kid, because I'm on the East Coast in the U.S. and we would often go to the boardwalks on the coast, and they'd always have people selling those little terrariums of what they were calling sea monkeys, but it was just krill. It was just baby shrimp. That's all you were buying, and it was just getting duped for some mom's paying $20 for just a bucket of krill, basically. It's it's not really the same thing. That, and they used to also give you, what was it, what the little crabs that are that have their own little houses?
Hermit crabs?
Hermit crabs, thank you. They would sell they would paint the shells of hermit crabs and sell them for $5. That was a business there.
I used to get those things. I don't know if you ever got these where you just like leave. It came in this tiny little thing. It would be like a figurine or something,
Hmm.
and you leave it in the bathtub, and then
Oh,
you
it
come back, and it would just be
expands.
It would just be
Yeah.
massive after like a day. I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
why we just loved that so much
We
as a
had we
kid.
had those, and they were like in like pills. It would look like a little pill or a capsule, and it'd be like
Yeah,
typically a dinosaur would be like what it eventually becomes. But they
right.
had like the
Yeah,
worst texture. It would like they
they
would be so
did.
slimy and horrendous, you know.
Yeah.
God. Yeah, we didn't really have much monetary brains as a child. I don't think most of us.
No, I was pretty entertained. I was
Yeah.
very, very entertained by easy stuff.
I remember we're going on so many tangents, but that's the vibe, you know. And it was I remember there was my mother is like very animal protective and like cognizant of animal cruelty and stuff like that. And for some reason, at one point, my father got lobsters to try to have like boil them for lobster dinner in like some big occasion, and she became too emotionally attached to them, so she put it in our bathtub, and we had them for like 3 days. We had lobsters in our bathtub in our apartment in Manhattan, and it was like these are our pets now. Obviously, they died
Damn.
eventually because you can't just keep a lobster in bathtub. Um, but it was like there was
That's
an
a core
attempt.
memory.
Yes, it's. I remember being like, "Why can't I use the bath?" And our bathroom now smells like shit. Um, so it was a combination of those two things.
Uh, and that is how the first Red Lobster location started.
It's true. Yeah, that used to be a. So I'm from Manhattan. Blaze, you're from Canada, or you just live in Canada now?
I'm from Canada.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's like, especially in the northeast of America, there's like a lot of diners. Typically, Greek run was like quite common. And one of the things that was very popular was having lobster tanks in diners. And it would just be like, not really a seafood place, but they would have it as like, you know, a thing. So it'd be like a big to do to be like, go pick out your lobster. And just 9 times out of 10, they're all just dead in there. And it's like there's some, unique disease being concocted in those tanks. But
I love a good diner. I love a good
yeah.
greasy spoon. I love a good like Western sandwich, some
Hmm.
black coffee, like, classic
Oh yeah.
breakfast. I'm not gonna lie though, Lady, I've never seen a lobster tank in a diner. Any
Really?
diner that I've seen up here.
It's
Yeah, it's
quite
always
common.
just been like,
It's quite common by
yeah,
us. Yeah.
crazy.
I wouldn't get lobster in a diner, but that was a thing
Absolutely not.
that was definitely a thing that we had.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So getting slightly more on topic, I do have a bunch of things to show over the next 2 hours for the live stream. Not just questions that we'll be talking about. Obviously, C is in chat and GOG is in chat. I'm not sure if they're hanging for the whole time, but they're both working on the project with us in different capacities. So is Blaze. So we're gonna be, talking about stuff. We can't obviously say everything. We gotta leave some secrets, but I do have like 10 different new images I'm gonna show today that are probably gonna go out within a week in a more public facing setting, but we'll at least be able to see them here. And there's some cool sneak peeks there. That is exciting. Which will
Ooh.
Yeah, very sneak. Oh, Major Aimless is here too. He's kind of like a lobster in a tank.
Major aimless. Wait, yeah. The biggest
He's
lobster.
got big lobster energy for sure.
For sure.
Big crustacean vibes.
His hands are like mitts,
He
just
reminds me
big
of
old lobster.
who's the lobster from SpongeBob? Larry? Is that the
Yeah.
Larry the
Oh yeah,
lobster?
the
Yeah.
super jacked
It's just
lobster. Yeah.
yeah. That's him. That's who he is.
Yeah.
Absolutely labeled out of nowhere. He comes in, he says hello, and this is what happens.
We've been just going on a lobster tangent now. Now I
It's
kind of want
true.
lobster.
I mean, I'm never not gonna kind of want lobster, but
It's true. Yeah.
I don't quite have lobster money. Not, it's funny. Like if I were to get a lobster though, I think I would rather have crab than lobsters. I kind of prefer crab. If I had to
Oh, I
get,
feel like that's kind of a hot take.
it's a bit, yeah. It's here at the Dark West, we're really just really dividing bifurcating the community with our takes on which crustaceans are preferable of the opulent crustaceans. Yeah,
Yeah, what do you guys think in the chat? Lobster or crab?
lobster, crab.
I'm definitely a lobster person for
Brandon,
sure.
start a poll.
That shit's good. But crab is also good. Crab is also very good.
That is one enemy type that we do not have um, as of yet in the Dark West because it's mostly desert stuff. There's a lot of desert, but no
Hmm.
crustacean enemies because for one of the main reasons why when you have crustacean enemies, typically they have 6, 8, 10 legs, and individual locomotion for multiple rigged-legged enemies is not super easy as well as just not really
Bro.
fitting. But
I was just gonna say, where would they even fit in, like right now? I'm trying to think of like a body of water that they could be
so there
coming
is
out of. I don't know.
one of the screenshots we have that is a place that you haven't. I don't know if you've seen yet. Um,
Hmm.
maybe I could bring that on screen to start things off. I'm gonna try to grab this and let's just see if it breaks. Um, what the stream looks like right now.
Dirt crabs. Yeah, that makes sense,
Okay.
They thrive in dirt and dust.
All right. So I'm gonna actually pull up one of our sneak peek images here for an area that is later in the game called the Crimson Coast that you haven't seen yet, Blaze. I'm pretty sure. Okay. Let's see if that goes on stream.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that
I'm gonna
yet.
have to zoom in a little bit. This is an area after one of the mines, and the idea is that it is on the coast by some water, so you could have some water there, and the water is like tainted, kind of like an oil spill, but instead of oil, it's like corruption and like vile energy and like bile and so that's one of the zones. This is actually the wrong angle from the POV of the player for where you'd see it because you're coming out the top and I think this is on the bottom typically, but this will be so if you're starting in the very beginning, you start in this desert land. This is probably like akin to the 7th zone or 8th zone, something or biome I should say, which is cool. But yeah, this is a very exciting one because it could mean exploration for certain things like dirt crabs.
Yeah, I
Maybe
like
not.
the look of that. I think it's the first time I've seen the color turquoise in the game as well, and I think that it goes
Yes.
really well against that
Yeah.
red, like that clay, like
Hmm.
red clay sort of dirt.
There's
Looks
some
really
like
good.
real places. This is like some real places where I can't remember where we were pulling source material from, but there's a lot of areas where salt and fresh water mix, and you get these algae blooms that occur where there's just huge streaks of various color throughout the water. This is a real thing that can happen.
Hmm.
Um, very cool. Very, very cool. Well, I guess we'll do like a little soft intro while we're looking at this. So welcome to the stream. We're going to be here for the next 2 hours, just hanging, yapping, and then answering some questions. If you can't make the entire stream, it'll be posted on YouTube, and then various questions and parcels will be sent off into the internet like little nuggets for shorts and stuff. So you'll get those as well. But I'm Matt Lighty. That's my name, and I am here for production and development of the Dark West. And we have today as one of our guests. He's on which side is on? He's on this side. This is Blazeworks, and he's one of our QA design guys. So you can introduce yourself in whatever way you see fit.
Hey there, I'm Blaze, and I'm one of the QA design guys.
It's true. It's true. He said it. Yeah, yeah. You came on the project and you've been assisting with rigorous testing and some, and a bunch of design stuff. And there's one of the classes that has not been showcased yet and will not be. It's actually the only class that won't be showcased today in some way. Is was one you had a very large hand in creating, especially. But we'll see him more close to EA launch. He's a bit of a problem child to implement in a couple ways because he's got a lot of stuff going on, but very cool. And even just was it last night, right? We were working on the current test build and just checking out some stuff that had going on and just learning some really big lessons. I think was good because there's just some stuff that is you only discover from just like sitting down and kind of just like testing things and just talking through them. So I don't know if you want to even just talk about what that experience has been like for you, without giving too much away, but go
Yeah,
for it.
no, I've This has definitely been like the first time I've ever had the opportunity and the pleasure actually of participating in like any sort of like game development. And I thought it was like absolutely super fitting to be able to like contribute to like an ARPG, being that it's like one of my favorite, if not my favorite genre for a very long time. And yeah, I think that with the Dark West specifically, I think it's just been really cool, like hearing about this project from over like the past year. Like I've been talking with with Hex over like the last year about this passion project, and yeah, like it's crazy that like to see things evolving as they do, and I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about, but even just seeing like some of the skills being implemented in like the latest build and stuff like that, like I don't know, every week it just seems like it's making pretty significant progress. So yeah, it's been enjoyable for sure.
Yeah, it's just like this constant ebb and flow of coming up with ideas and then having it implemented. We've got a few guys. There's probably like 5 or 6 of us now that are contributing like majorly to the design and kind of like a big block of marble, just like chiseling away at what we want things to be and how we want them to feel. And since we're like I don't say the word overzealous, but we're like very you know quick to try to do everything we can on our end. So there's like this little bit of a wait sometimes of things being added in and testing. So when we do see something added in, it's like, ooh, it's like baby Christmas. We get to we get to see what's up with this new thing, and it's like you know a fun thing was oftentimes there's also bugs. So like one of the skills they added in was like new VFX, and when we were testing it out, I don't know if like the values were like set to times 20 or something on the one powder shot thing, but it was like
Yeah.
you pulled the trigger and it was like a tactical nuke or shot out of the character's arms. There's a
It
lot of
felt great
goofiness.
though.
It
It
did.
felt great.
It did. If we had, it
Yeah.
was kind of like in was it like Men in Black, where Will Smith's character has like the noisy cricket, that little gun that just shoots like down an entire street. That's what it felt
Yeah.
like. But that's the fun part. And sometimes it's like you get these scenarios when testing where like you're so sure you found a bug, but really it isn't a bug. So like we had this thing where we just set up like instance gates between going from town and like different instances, and I had in my inventory like one gun and then one life potion. It was specifically, I think it was a hand cannon and a life potion. And as I exited town, right in front of me was a hand cannon and a life potion. So I said, "Oh, it's duping my inventory to the ground." And then one of our programmers said, "No, those are just natural spawns there, and they happen to be exactly what you're holding in the exact spots you're holding them." And I was like, "Oh,
Damn.
okay."
Crisis avoided.
Yeah, just happens. It's like it's just the vibe of whatever's going on.
Yeah.
I do have some questions. Sure, we'll get tons of questions from where is it? This is QA. Let me pull this off screen. There's so many questions there. I'll have to get through that. Oh, I lost Blaze. Man down. Oh, he's back. Welcome
Uh-oh.
back.
Uh-oh.
I
I'm here
killed you.
again.
I killed you. Oh, I did it again. Why is it? Oh, there we go. Now you're back again. I don't know. It just hates you when I move stuff around.
It's finicky.
Oh, thanks, Persia. Appreciate the nice vibes. I see Brandon typed in all capitals just so I can understand it. Blaze, come back.
I'm here. I'm back.
Welcome back. All right. So we have a bunch of not QA questions. Well, yeah, the other Gira QA questions in a way. They're quality assurance, question answer, quality assurance. Same. Two sides of the same coin. So I'm just gonna read through these and then we'll just answer them, I guess, to the best of our ability and just see what memes spawn from that.
Wait, before we read these questions, do you want to say where these questions all came from?
So the questions are a combination of the Reddit posts that Brandon does for the Q&A and then the Discord or the Q&A channel. So you can ask questions there at any point in time. That channel in our Dark West Discord is always open, so you could always ask questions there. And typically I'll just give a little thumbs up, which is me saying, I see your question, and we'll get to it next week. And, if for some reason you didn't make it or the question didn't somehow get in, you could always just, tag me or someone else specifically, and we can get to you. But they're almost always going to get answered here. And then, of course, anybody in chat can ask any questions they want over the next 2 hours, and we'll just answer them. Unless Blaze yells at you, which he might do, but I don't think he will. He's a very nice guy. Um, so one of them is a very good question, which was, is there a way to support the project currently, or is it just wish list and pray? So it's a two-part question, but I'm going to answer the second part first. Wish listing is one of the best things you can do on Steam, and thankfully there's no praying required because the game is definitely going to release. So it's just it's going to happen. And then a way to support it, I believe we're currently in the process of setting up a bunch of those sort of things where it comes to like, whether it's, I'm not saying it's going to guarantee this, but whether it's like a Patreon or like a Kickstarter, things like that, because people do keep asking about those sort of things. A lot of people really enjoy the idea of getting in on the ground floor of a project, especially if there's some sort of like higher tier supporter pack that has like an in-game impact, whether it's like from a creation process or just like leaving your mark on the game kind of thing. So we're absolutely exploring that, and those will be out sooner than later, but there is some sort of stipulation, I believe, on when you can release them in relation to how long it is until your EA releases. I don't remember the exact date range, but I think it's something like you can't do a Kickstarter or something until like you're 2 months out from an EA launch, or there's some rule like that. So we have to just be cognizant of that. And aside from that, what other ways do you think Blaze can support the project? Just being involved, I guess.
Yeah, so you just mentioned like the Discord. I think the Discord would be an awesome way
Yeah.
to get more questions, more conversations happening. We also are doing posts on like other social media platforms like Reddit. There's like a sub Reddit for the Dark West as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys want to pull up to that, or the Discord or both, you can kind of support.
TikTok,
Um,
Instagram, YouTube Shorts. I think all those things really.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There's like YouTube Shorts happening on the YouTube side of things as well. So yeah, just like your social media platform of choice, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
We should get a PO box and see if our game director Kevin is, I think, currently gone for the weekend doing. So I'm assuming he's just going to be at the Super Bowl. That's my best guess. But we should just like set a PO box just to his house, but not tell him, and just have people mail stuff to him. I feel like they're here to support. We're sending you sand, in memory of the West. It's the best way. Great. All right, let's do another question. We have will areas have narrators the first time you enter a zone, or will NPCs speak at length in every town, delaying gameplay? What a great question. So we will not have narrators each time you enter a zone, i.e., welcome to the corrupted, coast. Have a good time. Like, we're not going to have that. But we will have NPCs, and there is voice acting, dialogue, and different kinds of voice acting depending on what's happening. I don't want to go too in depth from it, and I'm not sure if even you were here when we were talking about this fully, Blaze, but there is in our game, it's not a secret, we have a faction system in game with your decisions have impacts and who you align yourself to, but we've kind of more codified how we want that to be. And a representation of that is as you interact with different NPCs, some of them might have different responses, whether it's voice acting or what have you. So if you're super on one side versus super on the other, you talk to a vendor, you talk to NPC, they might talk to you a little differently, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I love that. That sounds awesome.
One of the things we kind of like is a big point of our game, I would say, is just the concept of like having the world feel like it's ever present. And that's a cool little representation of that, So in my mind, I'm thinking like old school, like Mass Effect, when you like made choices and it like really felt like it was doing something. Just pretty cool. I just saw Wooly's comment in chat. You gotta
What a first message right there. Holy, that's how you come flying into a chat, ladies and gentlemen. Take some notes.
We gotta have it so yeah, why don't you adjust there's a way, Brandon, to remove it so this remove the caps thing. Because people
his message got removed.
Because people like Wooly coming at 80 miles an hour, and they're just gonna get dunked on constantly. He's just too high energy for this world.
Yeah.
Oh god. Also, he deserves it. To be fair, um, you can shout now. All right, Willie, do it. Do a tester. Do a tester yell. Testing a shout. Gog has survived. Really funny if Gog typed and then Wooly also got just deleted. Oh boy,
There we go.
very good. Um, Amazing. Hey Nye, how you doing? Welcome in, man. Another question we have is: will I be able to increase my gumption meter and spend it to unleash powerful abilities? So it's funny because this is gonna go on a real tangent, and Blaze can speak to this, especially Wooly. After last night, we were naming some items and stuff, but we have every single day that we work on skills, systems, mechanics, abilities. We add 5 to 10 keywords to our glossary because we're using them to define certain actions, certain states of being, certain occurrences, which make it way more legible for the player, but also easier for like programming. So when we say, instead of always having to say above 90% life, we just say healthy because that's what that means now. Like we're just setting these words. And we're just so often scrabbling to figure out like what's a good word for what we're trying to describe. So is gumption one of them? Like not yet, but we were just like looking at some things last night for like the equivalent of like what would be like PoE's onslaught, like something like that. It was just like working through these words where it's like onslaught doesn't really make sense in general, like as a term. Adrenaline kind of closer, and it's like flow state, like no, not really. So it's just like it's always so funny working through those terms because sometimes you end up on these things where we're trying to make it fit. What would they say in 1850s Western America, right? And it's like sometimes it sounds great, sometimes it just like doesn't sound good. So maybe we will have a gumption in some way, but we don't have a gumption yet. Moxie's another one where it's like, yeah, it makes sense, but it's just sometimes the words like don't hit the way you want to. But
Yeah, I haven't
yeah.
seen this word be used in a long time, but now that I'm looking at what it means, it kind of reminds me of like another word to say like renown almost. Like you're kind of like
Oh yeah, like your
gaining some
track
sort of
record.
like
That's what I was thinking.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have some sort of like almost renown to it. So it could almost replace that. And I'm not entirely sure if that's
it's
like
true.
a plan for the game, if there's some sort of renown system or
Oh, there is.
way
Yep,
to go.
there
Yeah.
absolutely is. For that's so for the faction things. That was like that's the hidden back end. Is like you're moving a meter back and forth. Positive 100, negative 100, depending on who you're affiliated with. Not that there's a right or wrong decision, and it doesn't impact gear progression in a way that's going to feel bad. Like one of the worst feel. I'm not sure if you've ever played. You play World of Warcraft, but
Oh yeah.
okay.
Oh yeah.
So do you know how like historically sometimes in WoW there was things where if you didn't do a certain faction, like the faction rep vendors had like best in slots locked behind them, and it always felt like this aggressive FOMO where it's like, oh, I didn't, do the Hydraxian warlords. Now now I'm fucked and I have to like re-level a new. So that is terrible design. We don't want that to happen. So we're not having it set where you're going to have any sense of, oh, I feel like in game I have to invest in one side versus another, right?
Mm.
Because that side is better on paper. Like that's something we're avoiding entirely. So the benefits are going to be slight, maybe horizontal buffs or benefits, but not where it's like this is just a best in slot, um, which is just like pretty brutal. Um,
Yeah. That sounds a
so
lot better
yeah,
for sure.
we never actually answered the second part. Oh, someone asked about the milkshake. I ended up not making a milkshake, and my wife just got a cookies and cream milkshake, so I have it. And normally I'd be worried that it'd be melting, but my basement is 55 degrees Fahrenheit right now that I'm in, so it's not a problem. It is so cold in the Northeast right now; it's crazy. So
Very cold, yes.
I don't know why I even got a milkshake. I sure got hot chocolate, but that's a vibe. Um, Also, I'm not sure if you're still here, Brandon, but make sure you're taking down all these questions in chat that I'm not paying attention to at all because I'm looking at the other questions in the other document. The other part of the gumption question was to spend to unleash powerful abilities. So that is, we do have, we don't have like ultimates, right? But we do have each class, of which we have 3 currently that we're planning to release with the early access, does have a resource, but they're all wildly different. And none of them function as if there was like an ultimate, but some abilities do have larger cooldowns. I wouldn't even say builder spender, because the game, your movement is WASD based. You're moving with WASD. So I'm always pretty cognizant when designing stuff and then we're developing systems that if you're moving with WASD and you're using left mouse, right mouse to attack and use abilities, you're already down kind of 6 keys as far as like, we don't want to have you be spending, like 6 more actives because it just becomes too much. It's like, I don't see one of the things that I feel like games like PoE might have missed the mark on when it comes to just too many abilities to do what would be more of a basic action. Maybe you could actually speak to that, Blaze, because you're a big PoE 2 guy in general.
In terms of what was the
Like,
overarching point,
what's
like
your
the
feel about not just builder spenders, but like the key binding bloat kind of, I guess, when you're using WASD to move? There's just like same thing with controller support. Like you only have so many buttons to push, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that was kind of the main decision behind reducing the flask count from like 5 in PoE 1 to 2 in PoE 2. I think that
Yep.
like just freeing up those extra fingers to be able to use like Q, E, R, and then 1 and 2, I think is like the perfect balance. Like 5 buttons is like probably the most that people, I mean, let's be real, most people want to use like 3, 2,
Yep.
maybe even 1 button for the
Yep.
most part, and that's great, that's fine. But for me, I think like up to 5 is probably like,
I'm
where I
on
draw the
team
line.
0 buttons if possible.
There you go.
I like almost strive in every single game, like in every single ARPG. I'm going to strive to have everything automated as
Yeah.
much as I possibly can, to where I could basically just look at chat 90% of the time and just blow through content eventually. Like builder spenders can be fun, I think, but innately, if it's not doing something like that many action times better than the first thing, I have a problem. So like an example of that in PoE 1 terms was if I'm doing blade fall, blade blast, I'm pushing a wind up and a sucker punch here. It has to be doing something twice as good if I'm putting forth twice as effort, right? So that's how I always feel about it. It's like, well, I could do this, or if this is not better than me just using arc, I'm going to gravitate towards the arc because like, but sometimes, there's been cases where it's like the outlier is so strong. So like what would be like a desecrate and then a detonate dead. If you could push 2 buttons and one shot everything, well, now I'm back on team 2 buttons because it's gotten good enough that it's like the juice is now worth the squeeze, right? So it definitely depends on how it feels. There's definitely some skills we've designed, like specifically for the first class, the gunslinger. I don't want to say too much about it, but there's some skills that are slightly more button intense that I'm absolutely looking forward to using. So there's,
Iron Fortress is a good question here,
yeah,
and I don't know if you could answer this because I don't think this is actually something we've talked about
yeah,
controller support. If you
yeah.
wanted to talk about that at all.
So I think I don't see why that would be a problem, because if you already are using WSD as your baseline movement, I think typically that's quite easy to do since it's like you're already set up for it. Seafarian actually in chat, who's working with us, was not to put him on the spot here, but he was, is well known for being the person to effectively pioneer mapping the mouse and keyboard to controller scheme for Path of Exile. So he was the first person to have that thing set up. So I'm just going to default the question to him and say we'll absolutely have it, and he'll be in charge of it. How about
We kind of have
that?
to now that Safarian's with us. We kind of
Yeah.
it'd be weird if we didn't.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna do it because also it's just I think it's like a really easy W. Like a lot of the things we're doing in general are like really obvious opportunities that other ARPGs might just be missing at. Because again, like we're made by players for players as kind of a mission statement, right? So it's like, and we're all very much different walks of life that it's like there's just so many these easy hurdles to jump over. So if one of them's like, yeah, obviously controller support. I mean, that's great. Like we could definitely, because my hands are getting crangled. I'm 35 and my hands are that of a 90-year-old. Like I feel like one of those guys in like those Netflix documentaries about sushi where he's just been like doing nothing but the rice for 40 years straight as an intern. Like that feels like me with my little crankled hands sometimes. So I'm like almost on team controller. I'm getting there. Um, yes, correct. When next Q&A, Sefarin will be talking nothing but controller support for 2 hours straight. It'd be like filibustering, just sitting there. No drinks, no food, just controller support. Okay, next question. As a build making enjoyer, I'd like to know what weapon types there are going to be in the game, and will there be melee? It's a great question. So, right now, we have slated to have implemented 12 different weapons over 3 different types that have very, very, very distinct profiles. So they'll feel quite different. I put a lot of effort in the past week specifically. It's been like probably 30 hours of my week just making all these weapons, researching them, and making sure that they feel different. So it's covering 3 different categories of pistols, shotguns, and rifles. And we don't currently have melee introduced or on the docket for melee's sake. It's actually something we're definitely looking into, but a lot of the play styles from some of the way that the shotguns are designed, specifically with how the third class plays, who's shotgun proficient, is going to be as melee as you could melee pretty much without being melee. Is how I would say it. There's like ways we can mess with the values for weapon types and their profiles so that, especially when it comes to this is like really high level stuff in the game, but when it comes to what would be like the highest representation of our masterwork shotguns, is that some of them have such a massively reduced range, but wild mechanics that make it so being in super close proximity, like 1 meter, enables some wacky stuff. So you're gonna get the vibe of melee at the very least in that way. Yeah, there's a we've had I think everybody in the past week when we were looking at weapons and making some of those like legendary unique items definitely had their hand at getting in everywhere pretty much at some point. There's a lot of degenerate items, and I would say probably a good 10 to 15 hours of my past week was 5 or 6 of these guys making stuff and then me having to reel things in because to make sure that they were all like in line with what's capable. So I can give an example of one of the projectile behaviors that we didn't have initially in the docket, but a certain Blazeworks was like, just like looked at, I feel like he looked at my soul and locked eyes and just said, returning projectiles. And I went, oh, okay. It's like, well, what is this going to take now? Programming wise, it's actually quite easy. Balance wise, it causes some problems, but I'm not going to say no. We're not saying no because it's a fun thing. So it's like, it's just one of those things that causes a little bit of a, I just see it. I'm like, oh, there's 5 more hours onto my week of doing something. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Seafarian asked about weapon swapping. Absolutely. We will have weapon swap. Weapon swapping will be enabled, and there's going to be a like a minor delay, a minor contextual delay. A lot of our delays are set up like, you know, a lot of the things are set up contextually based off of what your surroundings are. So an example of that is the idea that like if you're surrounded by enemies doing some of these kind of more intricate actions like a swap or a teleporter, like whatever those things may be, will be more difficult than doing them in a safe environment. So that's on our radar for like a way to balance stuff. Yeah. Okay, we have a question that's, let me pull another picture on stream before we go to the next question. I'm not sure if I'm going to lose Blaze again here, but I might misplace him. We were talking about the third class. Let me pull up the picture for the first 2 classes. Went to the wrong monitor. Of course it did. Oh, it's so zoomed in now. That's good. That's better. All right. So is my Blaze still here? He is. Is he still
I'm
here
here.
now? He's still here now. Good. Very good. I think I have it on screen, right? Yeah. Okay. So we have on screen 2. This is the concept art for our first 2 classes. for 2 out of 3, I would say, of our EA classes. Is there a world where we get everything done ahead of schedule and can work on a fourth class? Maybe. Am I going to promise even the idea of talking about it more than this? Nope, because I'm going to get crucified by Kevin. But these are the concepts for the first 2 classes. You have the gunslinger and the padre with his long rifle and his little Bible and his things. They're very cool. We can't talk too much about the backstory of them and what they do, but here's some concept art. They're like, we have all weapons can be used by all classes. That's an absolute prerequisite, because same thing with weapon swapping. Typically we do things in this way where it's like, does this just make sense? Like, isn't this an obvious yes? Isn't this like, it's like kind of like rule of cool for certain things where it's like, yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to use every weapon, to a degree. So we do have that enabled, but certain classes have different abilities that are required to use certain weapons. So they do have like a kind of soft proficiency, but at the end game, it's going to be a no man's land of what's happening. We're definitely like balancing things in such a way that it's like going to be really fun. That's our main concern, is we're going to have fun. If like, us not having fun ever occurs, we've made a mistake and we're going to rectify it. But yeah, there's the gunslinger. There's the padre. Padre is very cool. The idea is he's like, Abraham Lincoln covered in mud. That was the initial vibe. Kind of like a preacher, an ex inquisitor for the religious sect, the order, this whole thing. Very cool. Very cool stuff. So that's on screen now. The next question was, as a speedrunner, will there be movement skills that are either spammable, i.e. no CDR or scales with skill speed like P1, or available for every character, in place of their dodge roll? So, yes, every class has a movement skill, and every class's movement skill is pretty representative of like their intended play style, is how I would say it. So the gunslinger has a dodge, the padre has something that's not a dodge, and the third class has something that's also not a dodge. That are all slightly different, which is very cool. But no, they're not like super set in stone with if they're going to be spammable to the point of that. Out the gate, definitely not. Like, you're not going to be whirling bladesing, I guess is the better thing to say. However, Blaze has seen this with some of the masterwork items. There is some absolutely degenerate top-end combinations of things that will be present eventually. There's just like, if you were to, just imagine any RPG, if you had the top-end representation of like what could be done, yeah, it can get, even if the game's intended path is much slower and much more intentional than a typical ARPG, there's, an end game will be an end game to a degree, so.
Yeah, it's a good question because I think in the initial, like very early stages of the like dash and like dodge,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like there wasn't like a cooldown or anything like that. Like it was just like something that you could totally like spam over and over
Yeah.
again. And then through sort of like iterations and development on it, we kind of decided that it needed to have a bit more of a CD just because, and it's not a terribly
I
big
think
one. It's
it's
just enough to
3 or
kind of make it
4
more
seconds.
meaningful.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
much, no.
Yeah. But that was one thing that I never actually considered when looking at some of the masterworked items as well. So there's definitely some ideas cooking in my head right now about interesting things that
Yeah,
can affect that.
for sure. Yeah, I know for a fact there's already like, there's one of them. I don't want to spoil too much. I'll mention one part of one item
Okay.
because I think it's that degenerate. But
Yeah.
there's certain ones that will override cooldowns at the cost of life to keep things going.
Yeah.
Which, even if that life value is scaled, can you get enough to reduce that scaled cost that it becomes crazy?
Mhm.
Or the concept of like resetting on kill, things like that. There's definitely versions of each of these explored in a variety of ways. So if you're a speedrunner and you're trying to get through things as fast as possible, there will be avenues to to do that, but it will be still more skill based than just whirling blades to a boss, whirling blades to a boss. You know. I hope that answers your question. Any plans for Steam Next Fest? We have plans for different press events, different press articles, different showcases. All that marketing stuff is being taken care of and looked at. I don't think we're going to have anything specific to say today for events, but unless I get a magical DM from the game director listening saying you could tell them about this date for this thing that I should or shouldn't be saying, yes. And reverting back to the previous question, Gog did bring up a good point regarding speedrunning in the main campaign, speedrunning in the end game. They're totally different things. I'm referring more to speedrunning in the campaign, like circumventing all of the natural progression. That we're probably not going to try to let you do to a degree, right? We want you to, work through the game. We want you to to go through that sort of stuff because it's really cool and it's going to be fun. The end game stuff, that's where it gets degenerate because it's like the more time you sink in, obviously the better your builds and the better your character, in general. It's like any ARPG, even in like ruthless hardcore PoE 1, like the worst version of progression in the game as far as like how fast you could do stuff. At the end game, it still looks like PoE kind of, So it's like you could definitely get there. Like if you sat here for 1,000 hours and doing end game stuff in our EA and like grinded out BIS everything, it's gonna probably look wacky. Like whatever we're expecting now, it'll look 10 times as degenerate, I'm imagining, right? Because it's like we can only think of so much. And
Yeah.
I just know like there's definitely like we're a really, really good filter in general. Like we're a pretty good filter between like myself, Wooly, Blaze, Gog, Safarian, AIM, like most, all of the people we have in the project. There's a lot of layers of filters, that's going to prevent something like totally borked from getting past. And like we're trying to cap things and make things set up in a certain way that like is appropriate. But we're also all degens, so we're sure gonna want to do funny, goofy stuff, like Blaze looking at me and whispering deep into my soul, saying returning projectiles. I don't know if it was Major or it was Wooly a couple days ago we were talking. We had an item and then it was just like, how can I make this better? And I think I just typed forks 3 times or something on it. Like so it was just like, okay, maybe not that, but you get the vibe.
Yeah, loving the concept art for these though. Looks great. Love the little details, the
Oh
Padre
yeah,
with the the prayer beads and
the
the Bible
Grimoire.
on his
Yeah,
hip
yeah.
and the grimoire on his hip.
Yep.
Yeah. Gunslinger
Each.
looking badass as hell.
Oh yeah. The each of the classes also does have a class specific identity when it comes to itemization. So, you're going to have the representation of like each class in that way. There's another projectile mechanic beyond fork you can mention. Beyond fork.
Wait,
Beyond
what
as
have we
in,
not considered?
well, we have Pierce, Chain, Fork, Return, Nova.
I think there's Ricochet in there too. I
Well,
think
Ricochet is
in
just
some
chain.
capacity.
Ricochet is an ability, but it's chaining. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Nova does split as a base function. Um, Nova's really degenerate because
Oh, I thought that was already in like in some capacity.
yeah,
I guess
no, it
the
is.
way you described it was rephrasing, I guess, the word Nova, right?
Well, so Nova is effectively if you forked at 360 degrees with a base projectile count of 12, you are Novaing. It's just
Yeah.
because the thing is like we're fudging how some things were initially created because it's about the angle. So if you set fork to angle 360
Hmm.
and set proj count to 12, it's like a clock face. You're just having novas going out. Nova would
Yeah.
be player based, not target based. No, Nova is target based. The player based version, which is something Sir Gog mentioned, I think from Pathfinder, is emanation. So having a distinct vernacular for the two is the two different things. So a nova from a projectile versus an emanation from the character. So like a righteous fire would be an emanation, an ability coming out from you in a circular way, which has a then set defined range from the player. We've thought of it all. We're so good.
Ooh, do we have Padre's initial animations that we can share for the folks who are watching?
We have them. Can I share them? Nope. It was not on my Daddy didn't give me permission to show that.
That's what Kevin just asked. So I was
Oh,
just like,
Kevin
oh,
asked
okay.
it.
Like, yeah, he did. He just said, why don't we show some of those things?
Okay, I thought he was
So
being
yeah.
facetious. I mean, I can show it.
If he is, maybe I'm reading it wrong. It sounded like, and that got me excited because yeah, that'd be cool.
I
But
can show it.
yeah,
Um,
let's wait for further confirmation before,
he's
I
willing to
guess.
he's willing to show more than I. Okay,
Oh,
sure,
there it is. There it is.
sure. Let me pull it up. Okay, I think it is. Let me find it.
It's still permission. Okay, we'll take it. We'll take it.
um, I just gotta find what channel it's in. It's in. We have so many channels. No, it's that one. I'm gonna look for this. Did
Oh,
Kevin
that's a
just
dirty
tag me?
question,
Oh, there it
Bonky.
is.
Potentially the space-time diagram through occult magic. Didn't we talk
All
about this
right.
briefly when we were looking at masterworked items, like
Is this
time
the right thing?
dilation?
We did. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna try to. If I download this, where does it go? I don't think it liked that. Download? No. Okay. Oh, there it goes. Let me just see this real quick. All right. I'm gonna try to pull this on screen and see if it yells at me. I think this is it. This looks like it's it. Okay. So this should be. Can I loop this? Loop. That should be the one. There. We do have the walking animation. The
Oh,
Padre.
okay, okay.
Mm-hmm. This is
Yep,
him. This is him
there it
walking
is.
to town to buy his groceries.
I'll use the Rocky theme song playing right now.
Bum bum bada bum bada bum bada bum. I don't know. I guess DMCA'd. Adrian is gonna be coming to he's making his way downtown, walking fast. Faces passing him homebound. Sing it, Blaze. Perfect.
Oh,
Look at him go. Yeah, this is how he's gonna look like, by the way, in game. He'll have absolutely no textures, no art, no
he's
features.
made of mud.
He's gonna be Clayman. Yeah, famous Clayman. My stool just squeaked. This is was it you yesterday that mentioned my footstool? Or was that Wooly? One of you two, I think, mentioned it. I can't remember who it was.
Oh, that's a stool. I thought that
Yeah,
was something else. Okay.
it sounds like I'm just about to shit my pants constantly, but it's like I keep my feet in a little foot. I don't want to get blood clots in my legs.
Yeah.
Clayton heading to Claytown. There he goes. Well, speaking of that, we can pull up another one of the secret arts, secret special arts. Well, actually, I was going loosely in order. This next one, I don't even know if those are. That's not even in game. What is this one? Here's this. What is this? This is us. This is us, and I think this is the seventh biome again. Possibly. Possibly biome 7. This might be the coast again, the Crimson Coast. We're so zoomed out. Not sure where this is. Might be the Flatlands. It's somewhere. I'm gonna go to the next question. It's a very important question. I just realized there's more questions. Okay, so Brandon, you're putting the questions on the bottom, right? Yeah, you are. Good boy. Best Brandon. Shouts out to Brandon, our community manager, for doing all the community managing stuff. He's goaded. Will there be any secret cow level type Easter eggs? Inspired by the movie The Terror of Tiny Town. It's a great movie title. Amazing. We absolutely have Easter eggs. It's not really an Easter egg, but I'm just going to tell you something to put you in the mindset of how sometimes things are explained or how Easter eggs might present themselves. Because this isn't really an Easter egg because it's just not important for the game's sake. But it's a little thing that when we were naming items last night, there is a weapon in the game that grants you a skill that's kind of like the like where you shoot pistols in a circle, the one Blaze and I were testing. So it's like a death blossom from Overwatch, who, and we didn't have a name for this one thing that gave you a benefit to that thing. So we were like, what can we name this revolver? And in the skill section where I handed it off to VFX, programming, etc., I wrote on the bottom, because it's the thing like notes to animators, like how do we tell them what we want it to look like? And it was something like Reaper, Overwatch, Christian Bale from Equilibrium. Like that was the vibe I was thinking in our minds. So the name of the weapon we ended up writing was just called Reaper's Equilibrium, which was the combination of the two things. But it also was just like kind of a cool sounding name. Whether it even goes in the game, I don't know. But it's one of the things where maybe someone would make a connection to that, or maybe it would just, totally go over somebody's head. But there's like a lot of little things that are like that we're naming things. Some of them are even, what's the phrase where like when the something are at the parents or whatever, the children are at play or the mice are at play. You know what I'm saying? That phrase. And there's a couple items we were naming when our game director Kevin was not around, which are secret little references or messages to him. So I'm curious if he'll ever see those.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's great.
Yeah, there's well, it'll be one of those. We'll talk about it eventually, but they're in there. So I'm curious if he'll ever catch them. Nothing like inappropriate. It's just little secrets, little Easter eggs. The cat's away, the mice will play.
And in regards to the secret zone, I think that the question also lured to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Blizzard North ever like actually talked about that thing. It was just kind of like a thing that people discovered via like, their own problem solving and exploration and experimentation. So I think that's the best way to go about it. If there was ever going to be something like that.
Oh yeah, there's definitely already things like that, like hidden modifiers on certain items we have set up that do certain things in different conditions that are not going to be written anywhere. So you'll just have to figure it out. Like it's not going to be like game breakingly impactful, but it's just there's nuggets everywhere. A toucan level, yeah. Toucans for all. Will there be cards that count as both standard playing cards and tarot cards? So the answer is kind of. It's kind of there is. There is ways to make things count as other things. And that's the end of that question. And you'll see it when you see it. We have a very important question coming up.
Oh.
If there is fishing, will I be able to catch a 40-pound brown trout? It's a great question. I was surprised you weren't going to reference the 100 gar meme, because that's equally as good. So we do have stuff in place that encapsulates, I would say, that we're potentially hoping to add that will encapsulate the spirit of fishing, kind of hearkening back to those original Torchlight days. But it's so far, if we had like a series of 10 back burners in a professional kitchen, it's like the grease behind the 10th back burner. That's the level of importance we're talking about for implementation. It's legally in the kitchen, but it's back there. It's deep in the grease traps.
But it's on the radar.
There's something typed out even. It's that's as far as it's gotten. Next question is a very good question that we're probably going to have to address. And I say we, and I mean Brandon. We'll probably have to figure this out. For repeat questions, will there be an FAQ created that you could link as a primer to new people? We're definitely going to have to make one. I don't know. I think what would make... I'm just going to say a lot of stuff that's going to be cashing checks I can't afford, but we're going to probably have to hook it onto maybe our website or something eventually. Like have some sort of loose forum thing, or have it in the Discord listed as a channel. Like we'll absolutely have to make... Okay, so Brenner said it's going to be in the community Discord with the essential ones. So most likely, worst case scenario, I could honestly just go through all these questions and re-answer them. Like succinctly without us shooting the shit. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Discord sounds great. And then I guess maybe like the super big ones could be like ones that go on the website and stuff like
mhm.
that. Like, yeah,
Also typically all these questions do end up. If it's a question that it gets asked and answered in under a minute, it's going to be a short for the most part. So there'll be some something. Um, this next question is for Blaze specifically. I feel like it
mm,
doesn't say your name, but it just
okay,
feels like a Blaze. It feels like a Blaze level question.
let's do it.
Does this game have guns?
Okay, so let's just say this game only has guns.
We heard you like
If you like
guns, so.
if you like guns, this game is for you.
But to be fair, there is also casting on some classes. Not
That's true.
just guns. There are actually way more ways to not just use just guns. So the melee thing is a whole other debacle of a conversation that we'll navigate eventually succinctly, but we'll keep being vague with that for now. But the of just guns, we definitely have not just guns. We have more than guns. We do have a ton of guns though. So there will be so if there's 12 different gun types, four different base rarities, and then like 3 masterworks for each gun, and then different combinations of using them in weapon swaps. I mean, there could be like hundreds of thousands of combinations of guns and rarities and rolls you can probably have.
For sure.
There's a
I
lot of
think to
stuff.
be to be like accurate with the answer though, like as of right now, the primary weapon bases are all guns. But that doesn't like take away from the fact that like interacting with these guns can provide like different and unique possibilities,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah,
Especially when you start, looking, we're not going to show anything today for this, but as when in the EA, when you start to look at those high end masterwork guns, they have such a ridiculous, like every single type of expression in an ARPG we've pretty much tried to tackle in some way through those weaponries where it like drastically changes play styles and drastically changes attack patterns and way you approach combat and entirety of builds. So like there's ridiculously defining ones that will some of like they're we're aiming for like I would say our goal is like 30% balance from top end to bottom end. If you had like the best possible build using the worst gun and the best possible build using the best gun, we're trying to get like within 30%, which I think is more than generous since a lot of games, especially ones that have been around for 10, 15 years, they can't get within 5,000% in some scenarios. Like that's one of the benefits we have is because we're a ground up project with so much wealth of knowledge between all of us and so much wealth of balancing and feel that that's where I mean like we could filter out a lot of the shenanigans. Like we're avoiding most of the pitfalls that these guns or these not guns got guns in the mind that these games like kind of fall into. So yeah, TLDR, we have guns. Um, is spin to win an option like the Demon Hunter and D3 shooting and spinning? Yeah, 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 but only if you purchase the Templar supporter pack 8 months in advance. That's the only way. That's the only way. We're actually selling our 5th class right now. Oh,
oh
good.
my God.
Wow, shots fired. Okay, so we got another question. So that one's already answered about controller support. This is a good one. This is like a very valid question coming up here. I'm gonna put on my big boy hat for this one. I'm really excited for the Western theme, but fear that it'll devolve into a visual mess in late game as skills become overly flashy. I'd really like fully leveled characters to still feel like gunsling and not teleporting explosion auras. Correct. That is something we're like definitely mindful of, which is where even in like this last internal pre-alpha test build, like some of our feedbacks, I would say from a few different people were like the VFX were way too flashy and like we're toning a lot of them down because we're also of that same mind where we know where things might end up We're being quite mindful now that we don't want, you know, like we're not going to have tactical nuclear explosions. We're not going to be calling down lightning. Like that sort of stuff is definitely, if there's going to be a saturation of abilities, that we're going to have it represented through bullets. And even then, I've already talked to programming about setting up not just like dynamic culling, but like scalability for VFX when it comes to on-screen clutter. So like if you hit 100 bullet count, like it stops visually showing certain things, because again, like those games, especially like late game PoE 1, does look like just effect soup and you can't see anything. Like we don't want to ever get to that point. So that's definitely one of the things we're thinking about. It's a great question. Very demure, very mindful, very cutesy. Yeah. Um, okay, I'm hoping for some sort of end game. Leaderboards invite an endless pursuit. Something like D3's Greater would be great. Yep. That's actually, we have, I would say, like 2 or 3 different endgame ideas currently. Might have all of them in some iteration. One of the easy ones is what you're describing. I'm not going to go into much more detail past what I'm about to say, but when you enter the mines, one of the expressions we'd like to see for endgame is, what if you just keep going down, and what that would look like and how that would scale, like uncapped, basically. Which is an easy win, I think. That's like, you know, darker, more rewards, spookier, more fun, more things. Yes.
Yeah, love it.
Then toggle on hardcore and watch Blaze kill himself at level
We
20,
got to get to level 42, 69
Oh boy.
minimum.
Yeah, level 420. Um, and also, like, the fun thing is, like, when you have those sort of not leaderboard, when you have those sort of like endless mechanic settings, you could, harkening back to the previous question, absolutely put in Easter eggs at like different breakpoints. Like there's a lot of times where games will create an endless system and then they'll put in like, at floor 100 this happens, and like that's like the expected final result, and like they'll just put like a meme at floor 1,000, not expecting anybody to ever get close, and then people do, because
Yeah.
we're very smart, but hundreds of thousands of people are smarter. It's like the ants, they're brain together, so eventually they'll probably figure something out.
I think
Then
Ironforge mentioned that he would like to see a toucan as an Easter egg pop up at 1% of somewhere. Maybe, in the mines there's a treasure room that you end up hitting up, and
oh sure,
randomly there's a toucan in there.
yeah, it's just like a Domino's ad plays, or something. There used to be, I want to say it was either Elder Scrolls Oblivion or Skyrim. One of them there was an add-on, or you could download that lets you order Domino's in game, and it pulled from like your Steam credit card and like ordered it to your house. And someone in chat might know what I'm talking about, but it was
I
like,
had no idea that was a thing. That's
I
crazy.
feel like GOG would know. I feel like he's gonna. That's my guess. But there was a thing
Yeah,
where you could order pizza in game to your house in real life. Kelm knows. There you go. There's a person who knows. Yeah,
that's wild.
it was shut down. I think like not too far in advance. Um, yeah, the bird I drew in Discord. Yeah. Speaking of enemy concept art, why don't I pull another one of those on screen? We actually haven't showed any of
Ooh.
those. I do want to show those. There's a couple of enemy concept arts we can pull on screen here. They're very, very creepy. So the first one we're going to show is, let me find if I have these names. I think this is Slackjaw, the Slackjaw Horseman. I copied link, not open link. I'm dumb. Here's that one. Okay. That one's on screen. This one's extra unnerving. So it's a horse head on a man's body with extenuated things, but the jaw goes all the way back to the ridge of the face. Um, so the scenario idea. So not, when you're creating like the blockouts for these models, and eventually, obviously, when they're textured, they look way creepier. But the idea is like the scenarios in which you encounter them. So a man with a horse for a head, that's, yes, it's creepy, understandable. But what's actually creepier is a scenario where here's one of the straight horses, right? Just a creepy horse with the thing. Imagine seeing 4 or 5 of these grazing in a patch, right? And then one of them is one of these, and he's on all fours also. And as you approach them, they all look at you, but one of them stands up fully in form, like that is so creepy. It's like, oh
Yeah.
fuck, they're not one of them's not really just a horse. So we're like making those sort of little engagements and like those behavioral setups that are just really unnerving, you know, where it's like he's looking, they're all just in a pack minding their own business. And as you get to a certain proximity, it's like one of them just raises up and its jaw is just like all fucking creepy like that. Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff we're looking at. I mean, a lot of these things are derived from obviously the West, and then also the fact that the game is a cult and tapping into like that cryptology, especially because like I think he's in the Steam page. We have him shown. Mm, there it is. You can't really see him too well in this picture, but we do have like one of our bosses is a Wendigo, which is a very much kind of like era appropriate. It's the West and the dark. Yeah, you could say that. It's the Dark West. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Um, yeah. What does a cook sesh look like, and how do you guys come up with dope shit? That's a great question, Kevin.
Love
Uh,
that.
why doesn't Blaze answer that one while I drink my milkshake?
Oh man, I'm jealous. I don't have a milkshake now.
It brings all the boys to
Dude,
the yard.
dude, a cook says is just a Discord call with whoever ends up getting in there and just bouncing off ideas off each other. And it's just like any kind of, it just feels like any sort of hangout, except for, it's with a bunch of people who've been playing a shit ton of ARPGs for thousands and thousands of hours. And so the ideas are just flowing. And yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty special thing, those cook sessions. Absolutely.
It is definitely like Bonky was typing. It is kind of just like, what if we had this? Another guy's like, yeah, that's cool, but also, what if we had this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we have to make it
And
a reality eventually.
For sure, for sure. It's kind of just like a amalgamation of a bunch of ideas that we probably all thought about when we were playing like different ARPGs, and so
For
it kind of
sure.
all just gets like brought in together, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Sometimes it's even like I hate to mention other games because it's not so much appropriate like the setting. So like if we said League of Legends, right? Like it has nothing to do with the fucking game, right? Or like a Dark Souls or whatever a Balatro, doesn't even matter. It's the idea of like sometimes in these games you have these scenarios that occur that are very memorable, where it's like, oh, the feeling of this happening. How do we translate that to our game? The feeling of getting a wild hand in Balatro, or like doing something in Vampire Survivors, or like, whatever it may be, or, Helldivers 2, like when you drop a tactical nuke and like it just killed everything. How do we, capture that and kind of represent that in our game in some way? But that also is in the confines of the setting, in the tone, in the environment. Like, how do we check every box? And sometimes we can do that. And it's like those really cool things where the stars align. And then that just takes, 4, 5, 6 dudes in a Discord call just yapping for 4 hours at 2 a.m. And we get there.
Yeah,
Um, next question was will Hogtide be a debuff? I
that
mean,
has to be a thing, no?
we don't have it yet. Don't have Hogtide yet. Um, speaking of hogs, though, I can pull up on screen here 2 more enemies. So one of them here is a fatback in all his glory. That's a fatback. If you've ever been actually in the Southwest in America, you know that not only are there just like boars and hogs, but javelinas. If you're like, I've some family in Arizona and I've been there at nighttime, and there's literally pigs that look like this, just in the desert, basically. So there's a hog. There's a fatback. That's what they're called. We have another one here. That the question again, much like imagine you saw 4 or 5 of these, right? Oh, I froze Blaze. I can't believe we killed him. He's dead. The hog got him. Is he gonna come back now? You think he'll be shirtless? It's possible. He's getting ready. He's probably putting his cowboy outfit on. That makes sense. He's grabbing his hat. He's grabbing his revolver. He's getting ready to challenge the Dark West. We lost him. He got too excited at the hog. Let's see if we can get him back here. F. Is the stream itself fine and it's just Blaze? Failed to start camera. Try again. It's like he's in the room with us. Okay. It's just Canada things. He's in he's at his girlfriend's house in Canada. Maybe they're on Starlink or something. Actually, I don't even know if they have. What is the internet in Canada? Spectrum? Failed to start camera. Try again. We'll keep trying. We'll give him another shot. Well, I mean, while he's loading, I guess we could pull up the other enemy on the screen here. So one of the ones we had here was the fatback, right? The hog. And kind of like the similar snare from the horses going to the horseman, we have these butcher boars, these big boys in all their glory. Look at those guys. Yeah, gotta keep him on stream. We'll wait for Blaze. Look at his bifurcated belly button. He's got creepy little human feet. I think this is so unnerving, the fact that he doesn't have trotters and he's got just little human feet. Oh, we got 2 pigs on screen now. I feel like that really set me up for a 3 pig joke because I'm on screen too. 50-50. Let me try to call him. Let me see if calling him helps. If I add to call, does that do something? Does this solve a problem? I wonder. I'm spinning. Yeah. Hogception. Just too many hogs. One too many hogs. You guys remember the time that the Dark West killed Blazeworks TV? He failed to start camera. Yeah, there's the wish list on Steam. And there's the command page for all the socials. Something is messed up. The hogs got to him. That's it. Sometimes the hogs get to you. Milkshake. Well, what I could do here is... Oh, he's restarting his PC. Okay. That's okay. We won't forget about you. He's off the project. That's the final straw. That's the final straw. Who? Literally. Literally who? Well, let me answer another question while he's figuring his life out. Oh, so yeah, so the TLDR is hogtied as a debuff. Maybe. We do have a debuff set for stun, knockdown, knockback. Don't technically have one for immobilizing. What would the hogtied look like? Like an immobilization. Like, animation aside, it would be like a snare, right? I guess it'd be like a snare. Makes sense. Well, he's figuring his stuff out. Oh, a disarm. Disarming is interesting. So it prevents attacking. How is a snare plus a disarm different than a stun, though? Okay, so no attacks, but still casting. That's the differentiation. If you hogtie an enemy, their movement's set to 0. They cannot attack, but they can still cast. That's what you're thinking? I can just add that. I'm going to sneak this aside, but I have the glossary up here. Okay. I'm adding this as a phrase. I don't know if we'll ever reference it, but I'm adding it, and we now know. Hogtied. Okay, so we're doing Hogtied here. Put our pig boy back on screen. So it's movement set to 0. So is it movement set to 0? It cannot move. We'll just say cannot move. Cannot move. And then we do cannot attack. Cannot attack. Can still cast. Okay. We can do silence. Yeah, I'll add silence. The opposite would be, is silence the best term? Gag. Gag sounds good. I like the idea of gag. That sounds more horrendous, which is where we want to be. Cannot cast. I feel like gag would, maybe we'll do the opposite where it's just also cannot move. Cannot move. Can still attack. All right, we have hogtied and gagged now. It's perfect. Setting those aside there. Let's try again. I got a recall Blaze now. Whoops. Start from the beginning. Let's see if he can get onto this one. Boom, boom, boom. No, he's having some big boy issues. Oh, you know, I'm getting the RTC connecting a bug actually. Let me try to reset my Discord. It's the classic Discord RTC connecting bug. How many tags? So tags or glossary terms? A lot to both. We keep adding them because we want to clarify things, right? The more hello, join the voice call. This I can join this one. Blaze start a call.
I think it might be working.
Oh, I hear you. You're so quiet at mine, but that's my end, not you.
I hear you now.
You should be good.
Hear you. Okay, I don't know what the heck happened. That was totally a Discord thing.
Yeah. The streets almost killed you, brother.
Dude, I saw the pig and I got too excited and it just broke my computer.
Happens to the best of us, honestly. You're actually back flawlessly.
Let's go. Hello, everybody. We're back.
Yeah. Yeah, so tags, I'm not sure the exact number. Glossary terms, we are at 324, and that's without mentioning any actual abilities or skills. That's just
Holy. Wow, I didn't realize it was already that crazy.
Yeah. It's actually 4 million tags. It's good. The more keywords, the more tags you can get, the more clear you could be. And then you end up, honestly, with really nice scenario where everything's defined and you can have abilities not be word soup. So like a weapon might say like overkills proliferate. And it's like, that means so much, but it just doesn't look like a pile of slop, you know?
Yeah, as long as returning is one of those newly added tags.
It is. Returning is in there.
I'm feeling good about it.
Oh, yeah. It's true. All right, next question. We got our boy back. Can I attack move to only target enemy champions instead of creep waves? What is this? Is this like a League of Legends reference? I have no idea.
Did this command just say creep waves?
Yeah.
Like in mid lane, bottom, top? Gotta be specific here.
Yeah. All I know is that the best League of Legends character and build is AD Shaco top. That's what I've been informed. So
what about Meepo?
I was a Meepo main in Dota. I only played Meepo. I love Meepo.
That's crazy.
I know. The Geomancer. He's so good. Okay. Number of keys or ability keys. So like QER. Okay, so yes. I think we have
talked about this a bit earlier too.
Yeah, it was. We have the ability to keybind 1 through 0, and then just QW or QERT something else. It's pretty open. We're gonna make sure that that's as fluid as possible. Yeah, definitely. The goal might be, can I auto target only high rarity monsters? Okay, so you're saying like in a pack of enemies, if there's like a bunch of chaff around an elite mob, can we set like priority targeting? Like that sort of way? Maybe. I'm not sure if that's even a thing people want or would matter, but We do have name locking and the ability to target like specific enemies that you could lock onto. Um, yeah, so that's true. What about foot pedals and racing simulator controller support? Airplane Joy-Cons. So that would be custom mapping. So if we have I mean, we're going to spend an amount of time that is going to be set to do things like the controller support. And I assume that probably has open locality for mapping to a lot of different USB plug-in things. So I don't see why you wouldn't be able to, you know?
This is a Safarian question for
Yeah,
sure.
we're
He
gonna
can
send
figure
it to
this
him.
out.
He'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll just say yes on his behalf. Um, um, not a question. Why is it on the Q&A? Brandon, you're fired. Not a question. But I love your card system so much. I'm hoping the new talisman system in D4 is going to function like it. I don't have much hope for D4, to be honest, as far as like innovating anything in the next 30 years. But yeah, that's definitely one area of, but there's like, one of Diablo's biggest key points is the casual, familiar nature of it. And I don't think that they're even like innovating is even on their radar, to be honest. I don't know a new system or mechanic that Diablo has added in 3 or 4 that was like, this changes everything. Kind of like akin to when like Path of Exile had a skill tree, or like when Torchlight initially added the idea of mapping, like these sort of things. Like we haven't had anything like that. I don't think Diablo 2 definitely they had lots of that, but D4, yeah, Diablo Immortal did in the sense of we could just how hard can one company shill a game? That's like the next gen of that. That's about can we just make it so you
There-
could buy fun?
Yeah, Diablo 3 had the real money auction house. That was pretty innovative to
It's
the
true.
ARPG genre for sure.
It
Very
was.
innovation,
Yeah.
big innovation there. There was another question that I saw floating around in chat quite a few times, and I'm actually curious about myself,
Mm-hmm.
Lighty,
Yep.
and it was about explosives. I think that, I think I saw the word TNT or some sort of
Mm-hmm.
explosive being mentioned in chat. Do you want to
Yeah.
elaborate on that a little bit?
Oh, it's actually the
Any
next
ideas at the
question.
moment?
I just saw in the Q&A
Oh,
where it says, "Will
nice.
I be able to throw dynamite?" Speaking of minor delays, so
Yes.
yes. So to answer that question, I would probably say there will be some way to engage with dynamite specifically because there's already an enemy type that engages with dynamite specifically. So almost always, if we already have something in game that we could like repurpose or use that is thematic and is like cool to use for a player perspective, I don't see why we wouldn't have reference to it in some way. Um, it's one of those things that's definitely not like on the front. It's on the front burner. It's on the back burner. But that
Hmm.
to me is like an easy one where we already have we literally have dynamite, so it's just going in a different direction. So I would say probably yeah. That's a thing where I could think can get really degenerate. Like I could see a couple funny ones, like with the gunslinger, like on dodge roll, drop a dynamite, like something like that, or making so there's a chance on kill to like spawn dynamites. Like that's the sort of thing that gets really degenerate really quickly, though. Also, because it's just talk about screen clutter. Like imagine you had like 50 dynamites going off on screen; it would look
Yeah.
insane. So
Yeah.
in we're not going to hand you like a block of Parmesan, but we'll give you like a little shred on the top, like a little sprinkle maybe of
I like that.
something, something. But yeah, anything that's on brand is definitely yeah, Molotov dot builds. That's what we like to say is that's like a fourth class talk, which we're not talking about at the moment, but fourth class, you get rind only, nothing but rind. Um, so when swapping to my holstered revolver, will there be a chance to shoot myself in the foot like the real Dark West? So I mean, no at the gate, but there is certain penalty mechanics that we're exploring to express a similar thing, kind of like the idea that if you don't perform certain actions appropriately, so like not system-wide mechanics, but spec'd into mechanics, where if you don't perform a certain action appropriately, you will have a penalty like a gun jam or something, but not to the point where everyone's forced to interact with anything. because as a baseline mechanic, that would be too cumbersome, I would say. But that is represented in a few different ways through different classes, depending on what gun you're using. Not all guns work the same way. Most guns work wildly differently, and they're being loosely tied to the real world, how they operate. So, an example of that is like, I encourage you to go Google the history of the Colt revolving shotgun. There's It's an innovative weapon that had very, very, very specific, repeatable issues that you could look up and think, oh, that would be really goofy if that same issue occurred in game. So that's an example of things like that. So look up the Colt revolving shotgun, and you'll learn all you need to know. Like I'm sure the Gemini AI will tell you all about it in a paragraph. Um, will Dark West support being able to pause gameplay even within boss fights review tooltips? Yeah, we have pausing. I don't understand conditional pausing in current games personally, especially if it's like you're trying to read a tooltip and like it's a matter of life and death. Like I don't see it being a problem, especially when we have such an extensive glossary that'll include all like the terminology that we use for the player is going to be defined as the same ones for enemies. So like for example, if a enemy applies, we as a player have access to something called like an afflicted debuff that does a certain behavior. The enemies will also be using the same pool of buffs and debuffs we use, so you'll naturally familiarize yourself with what those icons look like, just generally speaking. We're not going to have, I don't want to like shit on PoE here, but we're not going to have like 9 different delirium debuffs that exist nowhere else in the game that are identical to what our existing debuffs are, but are just like slightly different, so it's like a new thing. Like we're not going to be doing that, because that's just like obfuscation for friction's sake. I don't even understand the point of it personally. Um, so if like you get stunned, you'll know what stun looks like. If you get burned, you know what burn looks like. You get bled, you know what bleed. It's gonna be pretty obvious. Um, but yeah, and regarding pausing, GOG's referencing to having slight delays on pausing, but not preventative, just for like breaking to prevent sequence breaking for speedrun timing memes, not like a general specifically thing for player usage. But yeah, pausing's good. It's
Pausing's amazing. I don't know if you've like gone back and played other ARPGs or games without pausing. Like I remember, and
yeah,
I'm not trying to dog on like Last Epoch or anything like that, but I went back and played it
yep.
after playing a lot of PoE 2, and I was just like, man, like not being able to pause just hurts. It just hurts.
It's like one of those things, like like having an extensive glossary, where to me it's just like a non-conversation. Where it's like your game needs this now. You know,
Yeah,
I'm not even
100%.
personally a huge fan of like WASD movement. I prefer mouse and keyboard mostly, but without
Hmm.
question, you need to have like it. Just like you need to have it now, or like pushing T to
Yes.
teleport, like that sort of thing. It's like we don't need. We're so past dealing with portal scrolls as a concept, and like there's like
Hmm.
that should not be a point of friction or care. Is can I go back to town? Like that's please no. There's no wells. There's no wells in game to click on. Like that sort of shit is like it's just so it's so beneath us. It's so beyond comprehension.
I think
Um,
GOG would have a fit if there was a well just anywhere in town.
so
That
you
just
talk
can't
about a
happen.
cow level. I'm gonna make sure that
Yeah.
in when you're going down the deep mines, there's a level that's just nothing but 80 wells. That's all it's gonna be. And one of them is the portal out, and you can't TP out unless you click on the right well.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, will bosses be in arenas or mostly spawned within generated zones? So we have zones set up where there's like a variety of different forms of enemies, like elites and different maturity levels of enemy types. Some of them would be like boss types, but we also like retain the optionality to make like micro zones between areas that could be boss things or ones that lock you in a boss area. So like yes and no. I mean, sometimes when used appropriately, it makes sense. There's like a moment I remember. It's a good example of referencing another game that has nothing to do with our game, but it's a moment that is like interesting, which is in like Resident Evil 4. There's a boss where you're fighting them in like an elevator shaft in a mine. And like normally I wouldn't want to fight a boss in an elevator. It's like very annoying. But like the idea that you're fighting these bosses in these kind of contextual spaces can be enjoyable, Like so it just depends on the boss. If it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, then no. Is there an example, Blaze, you can think of a boss in a game that you fought like in a particularly memorable arena or an area?
Oh, of course, man.
Yeah.
I think the first boss that ever stuck out to me was the Duriel fight in Act 2 of Diablo 2 when you
Yep.
use the staff of
Hmm.
Tal Rasha and you break through and then it's this like tight little corridor or this tight little area with all the maggots running around and shit.
Yep.
Like that was that yeah, that was a crazy boss fight for me for sure.
Nice. Very cool.
What about you, Lighty? Anything for you?
Oh, I mean, there's so many like I'm a big fan of the Souls games, so there's just that's nonstop in that sort of game. I think a big part of a boss can also be how you're introduced to them, especially like any any of the memorable Souls bosses that like has a cool kind of intro or the environment's quite interesting. Always comes to mind. Um, Even like the first, when you fight Godric the Grafted in Elden Ring, like that's one where it's just the VA, the environment, the vibes, the two stages of it. It's just I think of that and it's like I can't help but get excited. So there's a lot of examples, honestly.
Yeah, the Soul like Dark Souls games do boss encounters and fights extremely well.
Yep.
And the locations of them, absolutely.
I would say even one of the best parts of PoE 2 for me is I mean the main part I enjoy is the campaign.
Yeah.
Especially the early campaign, like Count Geonor. I think Act 1 in PoE 2 is like the only part of that game that I think is like really, 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 really well done, and like the Act 1
Mhm.
experience. And I think Count Geonor is a great example of like I don't think it's difficult, but it's just he has really a nice suite of abilities, and leading up to him and the environment like just seems like a good one.
Absolutely. Count Geonor is, I think, a flawless boss fight, and I think
Yep.
GGG did an amazing job
Yep.
with
Definitely
that
knocked
fight.
one out of the park.
Absolutely.
Even
Hmm.
just like teasing the beast in the cage behind it, like that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Brandon said Bale. That's the dragon from Elden Ring. So good. It has got one of the best lead up VAs also, where the guys curse you, Bale. That's so good. Um, will there be a Bandito class? Kevin asked. Kevin asked this. Well, it's his game. No, I mean not in that sense. There's a gunslinger, and then there's the Padre, and then there's a third class that I'm not going to talk about, and then that's the end of I'm allowed to talk about. Um, Bandito fourth class on the horizon. I feel like I'm getting gaslit because it's the guy who always is clamping down on not overdeveloping is now telling me to make a Bandito class.
Yeah.
Might be Kevin's twin evil brother. Um, this is a good question. To spare our digits, any plans for auto sorting inventory? I am a big advocate of that.
Oh.
So I will make sure. I feel like that's one of the things that's going to be probably stupid easy for the programming team to do. So I'm just gonna. We're definitely gonna. I'm gonna highlight this one in the document because that to me is um I'm gonna literally mention that on Monday in the meeting.
That's a good one. I saw that one pop up in chat earlier, and I was like, "Dang, I actually don't know the answer to this, so I'm actually curious." Yeah.
Yeah, because I
As much
love
as I'm
that
like an
feature.
old school like Diablo 2 like inventory Tetris enjoyer, I
Yeah,
know that there's so many people out there who just love having the option to just click a button and have everything organized, and I
for
think that's
sure.
great.
So another thing to keep in mind is the general quantity of loot in our game is going to be not remotely as flagrant as modern ARPGs. Um, so I don't think it'll become as much of a problem. Like we're not like there's no loot filters because we're doing loot right, so we don't have to have 9,000 white weapons being hidden and chunking our game. Um, Gog's saying it's hard, but I'm gonna just yell at Ricardo and he'll make it happen, as with most things. But yeah, we'll look into it. TLDR. Do you think about project? Oh, this is the Z axis. Okay, so that's actually like a really cool idea. Although I don't know how much it works because like we could probably do something goofy with that, but I don't know if it would really like make. Oh, you know what? Actually, we do. We do have something that interacts with the Z axis. At least slated because there's. How do I phrase this without giving away too much? There is a weapon Okay, it's not. I can't. Okay, I can't say anything. I'm trying to think of a way to phrase this. Basically, one of our dudes asked what it would be like if we had a grenade launcher, which we can't have, obviously. But the
Yeah.
idea of lobbing a projectile versus shooting it is something
Right.
we're looking at. So yeah, that is something we're thinking. But I don't know. See, I don't know if it's actually like if the projectile curving up is that really happening or is that just a visual representation? I don't know. It might be because I think it might be as simple as you're just setting an a start and an end destination and then just writing how high it goes eventually, and then they set the curve. So it might be
Thing I
easy
thought
enough.
of with this was like when people, I don't know, this is a really stupid thing that no one should do, but shoots a bow and arrow in the air and like the arrow goes
Yeah.
up and then
Mm-hmm.
falls down.
Yep.
That'd be crazy if there's like a
Th-
bow in the game and it
So
had
I
this like ability
that's
to
kind of what I was
drop
thinking
arrows
about because
down.
like with all these things, we're trying to do things that are realistic, but also like it's pseudoscience we're kind of engaging with. So, like could we have a bullet that goes straight and bends? Like, no. Could we have a bullet that ricochets off anything? Yes, because hypothetically, like that could, that could be done. Um, can we have it so if you were really, really good at shooting a gun up, that you knew exactly where it would land, and then somehow shooting it with an amount of acceleration that makes it so it doesn't actually go that high and lobs perfectly? Yeah, probably, which is kind of where we ended up, which was like, yeah, okay, so you could do this, right? Um,
Hmm.
so that's kind of where we were thinking. And then, okay, so maybe it turns the projectile off of a sphere trace and into a cone trace when coming down, making it an AoE. You know, makes sense, I think. Can I leak any new cards for you? I can. You're asking. I could show you. I could show you cards. I have cards. Um,
Yes, new cards.
there's a couple. Here's one. I am not gonna tell you what it does, but I'll tell you what it's called. This is the Red Choir.
Oh, that looks sick.
The Red Choir. So this is actually a card that when I wrote all the game's lore stuff and history, Seafarian just read through it all. So he actually knows about these people, but they are referenced as one of our disciples of a certain deity in the game. And the idea, I'm not gonna say anything more. The idea is that basically they're through their devout nature, they're performing hymns at such a crazy level that it's making their throats rupture and cough up blood. Like they have no regard for their own well being. Um, so that's them, the Red Choir, which is
That's wild.
yes, yes, it is. This was done by our art director Corolla.
Beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful art.
I know it's very suboptimal. They should have gotten loudspeakers, and that wouldn't be a problem. You know, it would have been much easier. We have another card. I've got I think 5 or 6 cards. Um, that's true. I did scroll the end of the game. Yeah. Here is another card. We have this is a fun double entendre kind of one. A few of these were written with a certain like I wrote their names and their descriptions, and then they were taken in different directions. Like because I was like, if you can think of a way to represent this, that's more fun. So the next one's called Snake Oil, which is in reference to a snake oil salesman. But it was taken in a direction that was much more like venom coming from the thing, um, which is very cool. So it's like the idea that it's corrupting, going into your veins, cracking through, which is cool. This is the finished art for this one. We also
That's a
have,
banger as well.
I know, this one's very simple. Got the lucky dice, you know, with this cool kind of a gambler man. His his dice all fancified. You can see like the red of his eyes, like he's
Yeah.
something's going on there. Something spooky. Something spooky this way comes. I do
Those
have
dice look very evil. Got
they
the
are.
got the red smoke coming out of them.
Yep.
Nice.
I think initially when it was drawn, I think it was one of these sides had more than 1 6 on them, and I was like, that's not right. But that was it's an easily missed
Uh,
thing. There's one more. I have one more to show, and that's it for the cards. This one is a kind of an unassuming one. It's called Broken Compass, but after the EA launches and everyone plays the game and reads all the lore and knows all the scribbles and whatnot, this one will play a very big part in the story. This actually is like if you watch or have read Berserk, this is kind of akin to like the Bahamut that Griffith has around his neck, in a way. Um, so it's interesting. That either means nothing to you at all, or it means everything to you, and that's where we'll leave that. It means nothing or everything, but it is a very important part of the game. Okay, see, Farian knows. He read all the shit. um, exactly. It is very 90s. Oh yeah, a lot of our we talk about like inspirations for the game and vibes. You know, there's a lot for sure. When it comes to like the level of stuff, it's things like the Blood Meridian, like the Bone Tomahawk, like Berserk. You know, those are all big vibes for sure. This is the next question we have from Q&A. Is a great one. Are there going to be claymores in the game? Now, you didn't specify. Do you mean the large sword or you mean the mine? It's no to either, but you know, they're there. There you go. No claymore. When I think of claymores, honestly, I think of two things. I think of Highlander, and I think of the demolitionist in Team Fortress 2. Is that the Scottish guy?
yeah.
Yeah, he had a claymore. I'm pretty sure, right? That was one of his weapons. I think so. Sounds
I
right.
would like both.
Yeah,
Missed opportunity to have
I'm
both,
sure you would.
unfortunately.
I'm sure you would. Um, the next question is: there should be a 1% chance for a toucan to show up at an oasis or something. We definitely have a
Yes.
couple rare spawn occurrences. Maybe not toucans, but we'll definitely be messing with the idea of like critters and things of such, and rare occurrences and like percent chances. And I don't say that we're trying to flood the areas, but we're going to have a lot of little interactables and doodads and final flourish, especially as we get closer to EA. Like a lot of things are on our roadmap for being added like that because it makes it's just people tend to just blow through a zone, and we're never gonna we can't prevent you from doing that, right? But we're gonna definitely incentivize you to want to wander around and want to look at stuff because there is going to be a lot of shit, in nooks and crannies in such a way, and especially set up so that like when you play a different character, when you do a different thing, it's gonna feel differently and have that replayability for you. This next question I know is from Kevin earlier, our game director, which was, how do you know when an idea is chopped? That seems to be a big problem. I'm assuming this is like his West Coast vernacular at being when an idea is shit or an idea is not good enough. That's my vibe at what chopped means in that context. Or it could be really good. I don't know. I'm not sure. I actually don't. What do you think, Blaze? Which way is that going?
It's hard to say because sometimes I feel like you have to have more people try out an idea, understand an idea, maybe play with that idea for it to feel like it's chopped or not. And sometimes that chopped idea unfortunately makes it into the game. Like the
Mm-hmm.
first thing I always think of is the stamina system in Diablo 2. Like even
Yeah.
David Brevik, like 25 years later, was like, yeah, that was a bad idea. I don't know why we did that. Um, and so maybe they just didn't have enough people playing it and testing it out internally to make sure that it didn't feel like it was, not fun and stuff. But it's a tough line to kind of fall upon, right?
I think it's like only ever a result of not having enough QA, to be honest. I think like
Hmm.
if you have something and your entire microcosm of your game's development is like, this idea is great, and then it goes out there and 99% of players are like, that was the dumbest idea ever, then you're out of
Yeah,
touch. Like that, there's a problem there. You
for
have to
sure.
address this ASAP. And then what I would honestly do is just
Hmm.
invite like 10 people from the community, be like, You all thought this idea was shit, right? Okay, cool. Come test our game now on a weekly basis because clearly you know something we don't, and we're in the minority. So, like in PoE, when they had metamorph organs that you had to like pick up individually, and there wasn't a storage system for them, and then like in 2 days, it was like, oh, they all automatically pick
Yeah,
up. It's like, okay, so that was just nobody tested anything, and
that
you're
was
so
Trump.
lost in the sauce. Yeah, like that sort of thing. Like
Yeah,
you could almost argue
yeah. So
all of
sometimes it takes the
yeah.
players to figure it out, or more
Yeah.
people to test, right?
I've never seen a mechanic in a video game get 180'd harder than like heist in PoE in the first month. I mean, it was a totally different mechanic after 1 month because it was just nothing was being tested. Nothing was being thought through. They were totally off the mark. And then it just changed into like it just changed entirely. Like Blanky's saying, it 180'd 5 times probably. Or Nets and Bestiary. There's like a level of maybe congratulations where it's like, oh, that was very brave of you to do something that people wouldn't have liked. But if you keep doing things people don't like, I would argue it's not really brave, and you're just not like getting it to a degree. It's like one mistake, shame on me, but like 5 mistakes in like 1 year, and it keeps happening. Like I don't know. So sometimes
Now you're just griefing at this
I know
point.
sometimes I think it's really is just being out of touch. Um, and it's not the same as just saying like, oh, we set off to do this intention and this is what it is. I don't think that's
Mhm.
an acceptable excuse because typically all these things are almost inextricably tied to what would we define as quality of life or like friction for friction's sake. And it's just like, you have just lost sight. Really, that's the biggest TLDR here is people like they lose sight of it being a game that people are playing for fun. If you lose sight of that, what are we doing? Like I'm sure it's art. Like this, even on screen, this is obviously beautifully drawn and it's art. But like if this item didn't do anything and wasn't helpful and was like pointless, then what's the point? Like we've lost the plot. So long-winded answer, but yeah, and it's something you have to keep your finger on the pulse of, especially from our perspective. Like most of us that are designing this game and developing it, we're also always just playing a bunch of shit. Like even on Thursday, I was playing No Rest for the Wicked, and I was talking to Blaze about it for a while. Like, there's a lot of cool things. Again, there's a lot of things I think are really cooked, or chopped, I should say, the California vibe. But it's like,
There we
it's good
go.
to always get out there and like try stuff because then you don't want to lose your sense of what's going on. I mean, it's like going really on a tangent, but like, like anytime any band or artist makes an album and it's like the first two albums like hit because they're living through something and like relating the material to their own life, and then they become rich and famous, and their third albums are like, why are you only singing about being rich and famous? Well, it's like, well, I've moved, like I'm a different person now. I'm so out of touch. It's like they used to have.
Yeah, I always describe this as sort of like if you were a chef, but you
Yeah.
never went out and ate at different restaurants, and like you
Oh
only ate
yeah.
at the same like two
Yeah.
restaurants your whole life. It's like, dude, you're not like understanding
Mm-hmm.
what's actually happening in like the culinary world, you
Yep.
know? So it's good to, yeah, as you mentioned, try new games and see what's
Mm-hmm.
happening, see what's good, see what's bad, or
Yeah.
chopped.
It's like that meme that always pops up in shows for rich people where someone asks them how much, do you have any idea how much milk costs? And they're like $20 a gallon. Like, well,
Yeah.
ironically, you might be close to right now, but that was supposed to be a meme question.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Next question. I figured you already have plans for snakes, but I always associate rattlesnakes with the Old West. Yes. So we don't have a definitive plan for a snake thing just yet, but it is absolutely on the cusp of our next set of things to think about because, like, I'll pull it up here, for example. Hold, please. We have, some of these enemy types. Like, I'll pull another one up on screen here. This is based off of a crow called a black beak, I believe. Um, this like kind of creepy, lanky crow man. Imagine it being like kind of very in a small ball and like extending out with its creepy arms in such a way, chomping its beak. But so we're like working through certain enemy types and implementing them. And as we implement new, ones, we look at new ones, especially if we have ways to like reuse meshes and models and stuff. A snake is like by definition totally different as far as rigging and locomotion. But we definitely acknowledge that snake in general is like quintessential Western. So it's when we have the bandwidth to introduce something new in that part, and that very well might be before EA. That's like the top of our list probably is snake things. Because it's such an obvious one. Also, because you can have it represented as like a critter, you can have it represented as a base mob, absolutely an elite, absolutely a boss. I mean, a big fucking snake with a cowboy hat like from Rango. That'd be cool. Definitely cool things to have there. Mm-hmm. I didn't know we put Lighty in the game. I don't think I've had a 18-inch waist since middle school, my friend. Even my corset days, I don't think I ever had that. back when I was a 16th century Victorian child, I think my waist was that thin. I think one of my arms was that thin. It's
This
because
looks like
fucking
this looks
ripped.
like Kazooie crawled out of the backpack of
Yeah.
Banjo and just was
Oh yeah.
completely malnourished for many
Yeah.
years,
This is like Lovecraftian Kazooie and Banjo Kazooie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Banjo, my brothers, I need sustenance. Please, Banjo, I require musical notes and puzzle pieces. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty creepy.
Yeah, it's true. If you put a cowboy hat on him, he's basically a plague doctor. But don't say that too loud because one of the ideas
True.
for a fourth class was talking about apothecaries and plague doctors. We can't talk more classes. We're gonna get yelled at
Yeah.
again. Very good. Okay. Next question. If I use an area of effect weapon and my gun gives me area of effect, will the spell get area of effect? PoE2 doesn't do this. Great question. So, AoE is represented in a few different ways. For a weapon, on its weapon profile, it doesn't have any mention of AoE. It has mention of bullet size. But if your weapon had global AoE, that scales up projectile size because projectiles have a size tag, which is AoE. So if it was modified from global, it would. If your weapon gave you global AoE, it would also scale up spells that had AoE tags because it's operating there. Like that is just a stat stick portion of that item. The same way that if any single item referenced global area of effect as of such. But innately it doesn't. But if it specifies global AoE, it's going to scale up anything that is AoE, including emanations, including like anything coming off of the player, including Nova type, stuff, whatever. Like it'll just anything that's tagged does it. So it'll make sense. Everything just has tags, and we're going to have it respect them. So if something's doing an AoE thing, and you get global AoE, it's gonna work for everything AoE. So like the way that it works in Unreal is it's set in Unreal units. 100 centimeters is 100 UU, which is 1 meter. So if I had something that had 2 meter and I got more AoE, it would make the 2 go to like 2.2 or something. So yeah, it works in a good way. We could reserve the right to have local AoE as weapon mod, sure. I don't know when it would be beneficial. It would because we could just inherently also just make the bullet size larger, but it would kind of do the same thing. I guess to your point, if the weapon inherently had some sort of AoE portion to it, but AoE also is different than if you're shooting like a cone. AoE does nothing. But yeah, of course, yeah. It's also talking about implicits versus explicits. Like when I'm referencing explicits for global modifiers versus implicits, but there's no harsh no's here, GOG. Sweet baby GOG, we can do whatever as long as it makes sense. As long as the maths, we're open to it. Some sort of rage mechanic? Yes, but not what you're thinking. And overheating? No, unless specified. Neither are a system-wide mechanic, but both exist in a playful way. Like having it, so that's a good example of like hypothetically, would having every weapon overheat make sense? I mean, if we're shooting thousands of bullets a minute, yeah, sure. But is that fun? Not really. The same way that like we're not going to, we're giving you infinite ammo, but you have to reload, right? So it's like Yeah, reload is an interesting mechanic that we could play around because it sets the tempo for a fight. But we're not going to make you run around the ground picking up bullets. Like that's just not fun, you know. So we actually explain this, dare I say, cleverly in a few ways. But basically, in our game, items are branded with specific sigils. Items and armaments are branded with specific sigils that enable them to tap into various occult powers. So that's like our, you know, pseudo explanation for, yeah, you have infinite ammunition because you're getting them in some sort of occult fashion. So the same way we have an explanation for why the player respawns or why instance gates works or whatever. Um, yeah, Scavenger Pro. We should do that. We should also add an iPhone 14 Pro. How about that? As another masterwork. All the pros. Can I have a Bugatti Veyron V16 in game? You could drive it across the desert. Um, very good. $14 Fortnite card. Is that a chug jug? Can't wait. I'll meet you in Potato Town, Willie. It's right next to Tomato Town. Will the game have sepia graphics overlay? Like just to grief people? Like what do you mean? Or just like the idea of everything just has like a Western tinge? Not inherently. It just looks like it looks.
It'd be funny if you could add in like that as like a LUT on top, where if you wanted to just have this like really like Western vibe all the
Yeah.
time, that was like a thing you
A
could do.
film grain,
But it would have
like
to be
have it
very
look
like
like an old
tolerable.
CRTV.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we do have a
Some
couple
people would be
things.
hella immersed with that, I bet.
Yeah, we don't want to talk to those people. Forget them. No, I'm kidding. There's like a couple things we do have that do reference like your screen. So we have certain arenas, certain status effects, certain abilities, certain gear affect your character's like perception, your screen perception.
Mhm.
We're definitely using it sparingly because like we're talking about like if it's like, yeah, what if your screen was just permanently blurry? Like that's not fun, right? So it's we're doing it in a way that I think is tasteful and limited. Um and also most importantly not mandatory because if we were to have that represented through like an item mechanic or whatever, it would not be occurring like 24/7. But like I could see a thing where like a boss causes a distortion on your screen because an ability or an arena you're in or an area has some sort of effect on your screen display. But or not, definitely one we've talked about before is this our game has they're kind of like higher end flask representation is a very extensive alcohol system that has like this like kind of crafting usage and intoxication setting with like potency and intensity, and some of the downsides of hitting different breakpoints of intoxication. Um, just intoxication. Am I adding an F? Intoxication? Intoxication? Is it both the same word basically, right? I don't know.
Pretty much.
Okay. Anyway, different levels of intoxication yield different like visual distortions and results, and we're like that's something we're gonna nail down eventually. But it's like yeah, like there's definitely something that's like having that level of VFX as like a weapon in your back pocket that you don't want to just like use all the time because it just the more you use it, the more kind of played out it gets, right? Same way that like in PoE 1, there's a couple times where your camera's turned for you, like when you're entering Veritanya's arena. Um, it's like a very impactful moment. It doesn't happen very much. So when it does happen, you're like, whoa, something is occurring. If that happened every single time you went up any
Mhm.
staircase, you'd be like, I'm so fucking over this staircase, you know? Um, so yeah, it's just like one of those things where it's pretty potent, but we just don't want to use it like crazy. I honestly really dislike games where when you're at like 20% life or something, your screen starts getting bloody. Like that normally annoys me, to be honest, in most games. A lot of games have that, like your screen will flash. Like I guess it makes sense in like Sekiro or something like that, you know? But like if I'm playing like COD or, whatever, and I don't want to just have my screen just constantly just covered in blood splatter. Like I've got enough going on I have to worry about. The same way that having like unintentional or pointless UI UX can get like a little annoying. Like I don't want 1,000 bars to look at. Like WoW is a pretty good example of that's being criminal, where it's like if you had everything toggled on, it's just like, dude, there's fucking bars and meters and shit everywhere. And I'm like, I can't realistically pay attention to most of this, you know?
Yeah.
And is it really
I
relevant? Like,
think
am
I
I,
think it's
yeah.
only useful with the health sort of appearing visually on screen when, you know, you're not able to actually look at your health immediately. So it helps you realize like, oh shit, like I'm actually in danger now. I'm thinking about this in terms of like PoE2 design, where like sometimes you're not
Hmm.
looking at like your health bar and then you just get hit. You're like, oh shit, I'm
For
actually like
sure.
really hurt from this.
I think
Yeah.
that
So there's like
games,
positives and negatives to it.
some games also end up just putting a health bar over your player character, which is a thing that you could do because it's more central on your screen. That's where having like a modular
Definitely.
UI is a little bit different. So our game has a static UI, so I could see it being more of a benefit in that because you might not want to check down there. But it's also like one of those cadences of combat where is that information relevant and can I use it in a moment to moment scenario? So if I check my am I checking my life to know that I'm topped off, or is it more of a thing where I'm in combat and I've been hit, so I know I'm not at full, but whatever my character's built, so it's going to get to full passively, so I don't have to look at it. You know, like only if you don't have any form of regen, recovery, anything. Like if I got hit, I think I would instinctively just hit my life flask versus look at
True.
my health
Yeah.
globe. You know, so it's
Yeah.
like I this is a
Yeah.
consequence of my action. I've been hit. I've taken damage. Do I need to know how much? Not really. Will the life less cover it? Probably. Like so.
And
It
you bring up a
depends.
good
Yeah.
point about the health bar above the character too. I think most ARPGs these days have that, and
Yeah.
that's something that I basically turn on as soon as I like boot up a game.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's always very nice.
That's a whole that's gonna be like a whole week and a half conversation, honestly, for us internally is gonna be when we get the vast majorities of systems and mechanics added to the game and we're entering a stage of polishing, one of the main things I think we'll be referencing or looking at is like systems menus, because it's like a really, really, really important thing that a lot of games don't get right. Um, so it's like the idea that we're going to look for. We talked about key bindings. We talked about controller support. Um, when we actually talked about that, I was talking to Dan, who's one of our amazing artists. Is that we're definitely going to have a button that lets you rewatch cinematics and cutscenes that like old WoW used to have, because it's just like such a fun thing that you just have it and you click it and you can just pick which one you want to view. Like I remember in vanilla going to
I
like
love that.
BC and Wrath, like I would definitely just click cinematics and be like, I want to rewatch the trailer thing. I mean, obviously this is pre YouTube, but like something about it doing it in game is nice to have.
For sure.
And then we were having like a bestiary where you could see loose enemy statistics and information, which is really fun. And I think it was Willie had a really cool idea about this, which was as you progressively kill a certain amount of them, you unlock more information about them. So like maybe it takes like 1,000 of these blackbirds to kill before you get like the full breakdown of like what zones they're in, what their base stats are, what their etymology is, what their background are, any of that sort of information. So it's like a fun way of just expressing like what that cool stuff is that'll happen naturally on top of like the glossary and all the other settings. But there's a lot of that. Yeah, there's like some. What other sort of settings do you think you toggle on immediately? Like I toggle personally, like I toggle off screen shake and I turn bloom down. Those are two I do normally.
100%.
Yeah.
Those are absolutely those are big ones for
Yep.
sure. What other ones do you choose? I think enemy health bars is something that I also turn on as
Oh yeah,
well.
big time.
That one's a
Advanced
good one to
tooltips.
have.
I turn on advanced tooltips
Advanced
normally immediately.
tooltips.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Which we will
Yeah.
have in spades with our with our glossary. Not a problem there. Windowed
Mm.
full screen. That's a big one. Yeah. Windowed full
That's a
screen.
really good one.
Mm-hmm. Windows. Will there be
Ooh, will there be
damage numbers?
damage
There is damage
numbers?
numbers. Yeah, there's damage numbers right
Ooh,
now. There's damage numbers, and it
that's a great
shows
question.
for which means we have to have the ability to toggle them off also, because I do that often, to be honest. I normally only display damage numbers. Like if your game has a good DPS calculator, you really don't need damage numbers. Um, and having things like a training dummy, it's also something we're definitely is on our radar. So it's like for sure, like these are all things we're thinking about. Yeah. Why do you think
That's a good idea
progressive
though that Dog is
unlocks?
talking about with the progressive unlocks. I guess like the with the monster info. Like, do you think that? you should just
Hmm.
kill one enemy and unlock everything that you it has to offer, or do you
Oh, I
think
said
that
a
should be like
thousand.
built up over the
I said
course
a
of
th-
like playing through the
Yeah,
game?
it
Yeah,
was definitely
a
like
thousand. Yeah.
killing like one unlocks their entry. Killing like 20 unlocks their name. Like, and it just starts, each line of information gets filled out the more you kill. Eventually yielding like, he's describing like you know, real time
I really like
information.
that.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like you're collecting Pokemon in the Pokédex
The idea of
almost, like
killing
in a certain
5,000
way,
gives you
and
the
it gives
pets
you
very
certain.
cool. I love pets in games, but that's,
Yeah, that'd be excellent.
or at the very least, we could have like a menagerie in town where it's like a little corral. killing killing a million gets you a little baby one that runs around. You know, that's a good
Mhm.
Easter egg meme. Progressive unlocks aren't more common. Like weapon get kills unlock new behaviors. I guess the idea behind that is you become as a player more proficient in a weapon, therefore, um, you would like be have better handling of it. I think that would be okay if it was based on weapon types, not specific weapons, because if it was specific weapons, it would disincentivize you from upgrading or changing weapons. But if it was weapon types, then you would be more incentivized to use them. But as long as the problem is, it becomes from a balance perspective, is you would have to balance around the top end of what would be fully unlocked, not the baseline of what already, which is the standard behavior. So it probably would feel worse for a lot of new players in picking up new weapon types. Something you can do. It's just you have to be really cognizant of that. You know, because if it's like there's a very very high end expression for like you being mostly proficient in a rifle, you know, it would be like, well, we're gonna have to eventually balance around that versus the guy picking up the rifle. You know,
Yeah,
it's
it's kind of like
tricky.
if you play Battlefield and you like initially get a brand new gun with like no sight on it, no
It feels
anything, and it
brutal.
just kind
Like
of
the barrier to
feels
entry is
like
so
it
high.
feels
Yeah.
like shit.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you're getting killed by people who have like level 50 guns with all
Mm-hmm.
the perfect unlocks, and you're kind of like, not that there's PvP or anything, but it just
No,
kind of feels like, oh, now I have to
not yet.
grind my way up to make this weapon feel good. Yeah.
Stop me. I do. Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I think we could do something like an evolving weapon for a masterwork, but not for a system wide thing again, because it just makes. I think it does more harm than it solves, basically, with what I just described, where it causes a balance
Mhm.
discrepancy. We typically want to avoid these like large balance discrepancies, which is why when we were making all of the armor and all the weapons, we didn't have any of them be class specific because we didn't want there to be this like with class specific things, you start balancing inside of a vacuum because it only applies to one class, and you have to worry about how this is roughly comparative to other classes, and it causes, I think, this like pseudo FOMO kind of problem where it's like, oh, that class got something way cooler than I got. That does exist to a degree with the class specific items, but those are balanced much easier and they're much lower stat variations. And like a weapon is like a quarter of our character power, so it's just we have to make sure that they're all within roughly like a level playing field. Um, But yeah, I like the idea of the killing a million kobolds get you a kobold pet. We should definitely do something. I would definitely have one of those fat piggies running around running around in town. I would just see a couple of them.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very cool. You have one more question in Q&A. If there's any other questions you might want to ask, now is a good time as we're wrapping up here. But as always, you can always ask more questions in the Discord if you have them after the stream. But will there be exploding cacti? I don't know for a fact. We're absolutely going to have destructibles in the zone. So you'll have that. Will it be cactuses specifically? I know we have barrels, crates, a couple other things are destructible. I'm sure we probably have a cactus asset. We could probably add that to the list. But there's going to be destructibles in zone. Some of them are clickables, some of them are destructibles. Most of them will be rolling a pool for an amount of loot, but most likely give you nothing. So there's some definitely cool things there. We also have explosions as a tag, as a keyword, which causes an explosion and sends body parts everywhere. But that's a whole other thing. You'll see more about that next time. Um, a lot of fun stuff. What are you saying, Brandon? I have a
Oh,
question
that's
for
such a bad
Blaze.
question.
Oh, who should you bet on?
So I was talking to Lighty yesterday, Brandon, and I told him, dude, I'm Canadian. I don't even care about football." And so he was like, Lighty had to tell me who was playing in the Super Bowl yesterday because I didn't even know. So
Yep.
Yeah,
New
don't
England
ask me.
Patriots and Seattle Seahawks. Those are the two teams. I'm guessing a 31-40 score. Seahawks with the big W. I recommend you put your house up for collateral and put it all on. That's the only adult outcome.
That is some sound financial advice.
Mm-hmm.
I second that, I think.
But even if you don't like the Super Bowls themselves, probably a pretty good halftime show. They got Bad Bunny doing the halftime show. That'll be fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a very valid opinion. Um, will dad gamers get a mercy mode for QuickTime events? Don't think we have any QuickTime events as of right now, although I am pushing for them personally. One of We're not having what I'm going to describe, but one of the earliest iterations when discussing reloading was, what if we had a Gears of War reload style QuickTime event where you had to like
Yeah.
hit it on thing, and it was like, that would be absolutely brutal in combat as a standardized mechanic. So maybe not.
It's kind of one of those things like where we talked about would this be chopped if it was in the game? And I feel like you'd have to play with it to see how it would feel because
Yeah,
there is definitely like a skill element to it that could feel good when you're actually succeeding at it and getting better at it. But it also could just be super annoying and just an overall L for the game.
yeah. We have a QuickTime event as far as doing an action within a certain time frame, but not like timing like a meter going back and forth and hitting it in the yellow kind of thing. So there is
Mhm.
something. There's absolutely something. It's for this dude right here, this little gunslinging man. So he does have something that regards to that if you spec into it. Again, we're trying to, make things set up so there are like a lot of different skill expressions that you don't have to do, but if you opt into doing them, it's like, yeah, you'll get much higher APM, much higher mechanical difficulty, but it does yield a much more, positive result, but not in a way that if you don't do it, you're gonna be like, I'm missing out on this class. Like, they're designed in such a way that you can still absolutely enjoy the class without having to engage in this one part of the mechanic. He actually has a few high-end skill expressions that are not on my radar personally, but there are people will definitely do them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like the idea
Yeah.
of it though, for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Most of the friction based systems are opt in because, again, not everyone likes, like, there's a ways to balance things and set them up that we don't have to have everyone sad. Like, there's no excuse. It is a game. It's about having fun. So
Mhm.
we're gonna make the standardized behavior the most fun one, and then we give you the option to deviate, if you choose to, in wacky ways. Yeah, exactly. I think it'll be very unpopular because the upside is, 20% upside, 100% downside for most of these things. They're out there. Some people
Yeah.
love that shit. Some people like
Yeah.
love it though. So if you want that,
Yeah.
it is there. Um, if there's no other questions though, I think we're probably going to wrap up for our second QA and chill, fireside chill. And any other questions will be just sent to the QA log we have, and we'll have that available, and then ask them in Discord and ask them on the Reddit if that's still active. We're always available. So, you have anything else you want to say, Blaze? Or
No, just like, yeah, thank you all for hanging out tonight. It was super cool just chatting with you, Lighty, with the rest of the community, answering your guys' questions.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm super stoked to be a part of the process for this game, and looking forward to catching the next stream, whenever that is.
Sweet. Yeah, we're planning to do these every 2 weeks, and look out for some very large news coming very, very soon. And you'll see that. And our game director just got timed out of chat because he was spamming emotes too much, which is honestly so on brand. So
This Nightbot is a savage, dude.
this
That's
fucking Kevin's
crazy.
getting railed. God bless. All right. Well, we'll see you guys later. Look out in the Discord and all the socials for all the stuff, and you'll see some big updates soon. Thanks again for stopping by and hanging out. Rip Kevin. And that's it. We'll catch you guys in the next one, 2 weeks. All right. Later.
Take care, guys.
Bye.